Income tax started as a temporary tax to fund the Napoleonic War.
So, I mean, looking at all this stuff on Labour, I was reflecting on taxation, and you and I have talked about it before, and I've talked about the fact Dubai, Florida, income tax is zero and all that sort. And we're seeing Trump shifting towards no tax. So I was looking up about the people who write about this stuff, and apparently there's I can't remember the terminology of these guys, but there's a guy called Murray Rothbard, a philosopher or whatever, he's dead now. And this statement, I think, sums up where we are now in this country, and it's particularly relevant with Rayner taking away 5.5 million Democratic votes. Taxation is theft, purely and simply, even though it is theft on a grand and colossal scale which no acknowledged criminals could hope to match.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we've got in this country now.
Do you know why income tax started?
I think you've told me, but enlighten me. If I said yes, then I could move on to the next question, couldn't I? No, I don't, Nick.
Income tax started as a temporary tax to fund the Napoleonic War.
Right.
200 years ago.
Right, okay.
Temporary tax.
We need it taken off then, don't we?
A much fairer system would be to scrap personal taxes, and you tax businesses, and you tax purchases.
Yeah.
That would affect the rich more than the poor.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because we were in Wales on Friday. We went to a shop where my wife likes to shop, and the lady there, for some reason, she knows I'm involved in business and stuff, but she kind of cornered me while I was having a cup of tea in a little cafe and said, how's business? Well, I said it's slow, things are slowing down a bit now. She said, oh, well, we need to do something. It's a terrible situation. And I said, well, we're paying a lot of tax. And I mentioned there's a thing in Wales now, so we've got a place in Wales. And in Wales, if you don't rent out your place in Wales, you get something like 250% corporate council tax.
Yep.
Which is, so I'm now paying more council tax in Wales than I pay in Manchester. And I was saying, this tax, we're getting nothing for it. And she said, well, yeah, but how, this idea that you can, I said, so I mentioned that, we've got a place in Dubai, a business in Dubai, and they don't get income tax. So I couldn't believe this once, and I asked for a pay slip of one of the guys. I think I've told you this story before, and it had the gross salary. So we all see gross salary on our pay slip. And they had net salary, and the gross salary, which was 3,000 AD, was the same as the net salary. I was like, what? I said, that can't be right. And he's like, no, that's it. So in Dubai, those places, they do exactly what you described. They tax on goods purchased, basically. It's equivalent of VAT. It's basically VAT, basically. So the more you spend, the more you pay.
Tax you pay.
But it's your choice, Nick.
But that's what I was going to say. You have control over your money.
Correct.
You have control over what tax you pay.
Yes.
And if you don't want to pay tax, you don't buy anything. If you can't afford to buy anything, then you pay less tax.
Yes.
And then if you want to splash out on a more expensive car, well, you pay more tax on that compared to a cheap car. It gives the power to the person.
Yeah. And it works.
Yeah.
So there's no income tax in Dubai. There's no corporation tax. Things are more expensive by their very nature, obviously, but you can also live cheaply as well there if you want. And don't forget, there's thousands of Indian workers there who live very cheaply and have a good life. But that's a society where you're not being ripped off by the government for nothing, which is what's happening here in this country.